My name is Megan Figueroa. I'm one of the school counselors in the George Jenkins Student Services Department. I have the caseload from the last name K to M. So some of your students, or if you are the student, some of you are under my caseload. Others are under one of the other 5 counselors that we have in the George Jenkins Student Services Department. So tonight, the purpose of this meeting is to cover information regarding dual enrollment. So we'll go through some information. We'll go through how students can get started in that program, the benefits, some things to be mindful of, and all of this information will be available on the George Jenkins website. So if you're someone like me who feverishly takes notes during presentations, no need to. The PowerPoint will be available on the website, and I'll show you at the end how to access that. And I'll also have a handout that we will be sending through email to each student. So it's not just going to go to those that are participating tonight, but that handout will make a lot more sense after the presentation. So that'll be sent out as well, which will give you this step-by-step guide as to how to get started for dual enrollment. So just sit back, listen. If you have any questions, there is a chat box at the bottom. We're all becoming more acquainted with Zoom, so most people know how to use that. I will try during the presentation to refer to the chat box if there are any questions and try to answer those. And how I'll handle that is I'll read them out loud in case somebody else has the same question, and then try and answer that question for you. So I'm just going to dive in and get started. So again, the purpose of the meeting tonight is to cover information about dual enrollment. Can you all see this? The screen that I'm sharing? If anyone could just confirm it. Yep. Awesome. Thank you for whoever chimed in. I appreciate it. I just want to make sure. All right, so first of all, what is dual enrollment? That's a great question. And I think most people have a general idea of what it is. However, just want to make sure and clarify that everyone knows exactly what dual enrollment is. So dual enrollment is an opportunity for eligible high school students to take college courses while they're still in high school. Be mindful that dual enrollment courses are college courses that students do obviously earn college credits for, but while they're taking those courses, they're earning college and they're also satisfying high school requirements. As an example, if a student decides to take ENC 1101, which is freshman composition or freshman English at Polk State, that student earns 3 college credits for that. And it also satisfies one of the credits that they need for their high school English requirement. So sometimes parents or students get confused because they think they have to satisfy all their high school requirements first and then do dual enrollment. So I'll parents say, my student only needs 2 more credits and then they can do dual enrollment. You really can do, obviously, you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Students can start dual enrollment as early as 10th grade, and then they obviously should be taking those courses if that's what they want to do to satisfy both the high school requirement as well as to earn some college credit. In the presentation, we'll go through it, but typically students start dual enrollment in 10th grade. The reason for that being is that students can, according to our articulation agreement with Polk State, students can dual enroll for 3 years. So it makes the most sense to do it in 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. So that is typically when students are starting that in 10th grade. Dual enrollment counts again for both high school and college credit, again, meaning that it satisfies a high school requirement and then students are earning college credits while they're taking those courses. One thing to be mindful of is that that dual enrollment course counts for the student's high school GPA as well as for their college GPA. And students will be awarded a full point weight for that course, just like they would with an AP course as far as their high school GPA is concerned. So these requirements here, it says students have to earn a minimum of 6 core high school credits, and then you can take 1 college course, 8, and then they can take 2 college courses, and then 10 high school credits would get them the ability to take 3 college courses. Polk State hasn't been as strict on that in years past, so students just need to be mindful that as a part-time dual enrollment student, which is what students can do in 10th and 11th grade, they can take up to 3 courses at Polk State. So they can take 1, 2, or 3 courses at Polk State per semester. So there is a fall semester, there is a spring semester, and then in the summer, students are allowed to dual enroll, and they typically would be able to take 1 or 2 courses because during the summer, those courses are accelerated. So typically the semester is, 16 weeks. In the summertime, they're about 6 or 7 weeks. So it is a little bit accelerated in the summertime. So you do need to be mindful of that. So again, there's 3 terms: the fall, spring, and the summer term. Most college courses are 3 credits, which means that they require 3 hours of work per week, meaning that you meet for 3 hours a week. Polk State offers courses on their campus as well as online. So it would be the student's preference whether or not they take the course physically on their campus or if they take it online, which some students do prefer. That last bullet point there, seniors have the ability to do what's called full-time early admissions at Polk State, where they can take 12 to 15 college credits at Polk State. Essentially, seniors are able to do all of their classes at Polk State if they meet the eligibility requirements. And so they don't have to be on George Jenkins campus during that senior year. They take 4 or 5 classes at Polk State for the first semester and 4 or 5 for the second semester. They're still considered George Jenkins student and graduate with George Jenkins. However, they do not have to be on our campus. And that is reserved only for seniors. And we'll go into the requirements a little bit later, but they have to have a 3.2 unweighted GPA, and they have to pass all sections of the PERT. So some benefits to dual enrollment is that you're able to accelerate, so students can earn college credits while they're in high school. So this way, when they go off to college, whether they go to Polk State to finish up their AA, or if they decide to go to USF, UF, Florida Gulf Coast, they've already earned some college credits they can use. And so basically they're getting ahead. Tuition is also paid for by Polk County Public Schools, and then textbooks are also provided. I always say to my students, you never have to pay anything for dual enrollment. So you should not be paying for books, you should not be paying for anything when it comes to dual enrollment. Sometimes once students get dual enrolled, they'll notice on their passport account, which is the dual enrollment account, that they might have a hold or that they have some kind of outstanding fee. That is something that the school board will take care of. So do not ever pay anything for dual enrollment. Most courses are available on the Polk State campus. We do offer some courses on our campus. There's just a few of them that we offer on our campus, so students have the opportunity to take those as well. But typically most students are taking them through Polk State, either online or on their campus. Again, be mindful that those courses count for both high school and college credit, meaning they're satisfying that high school requirement and they're earning college credit for it. And this is a little bit of a repeat. Courses are weighted 1 additional point in the high school GPA, just like AP is weighted. So for instance, if a student earns an A in a dual enrollment course, they will have, instead of earning 4 points, they will earn 5 points. And that is how you hear about students graduating with a 4.5 or 4.6 GPA. It's because they're taking classes that are weighted with the 1 point weight or the half point weight for honors courses. So some things to keep in mind, it says pitfalls, but just some things to be mindful of. Students do have to provide their own transportation to dual enrollment courses, so we don't offer any busing or any form of transportation to the Polk State campus. Some students, if they don't have transportation and don't drive yet, they will take courses online, so that becomes an option. The next one is something that parents really need to be aware of, is that only students have access to their attendance and their grades due to FERPA, which is the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act. Essentially, students are treated like college students. So parents don't have the ability like they do to log into Parent Portal and check their grades. Students can sign a form that allows their parent to communicate with the college on their behalf, but just be mindful that as their counselor, I won't be getting updates about their grades like I would, for instance, if someone on our campus was failing a class. So that becomes more important like senior year, if it's a course that the student needs to graduate, and we want to make sure that they're on track for graduation. So that is definitely something to be mindful of. The last thing is, if you withdraw from a course, you do end up with a W on your college transcript. It's not the worst thing in the world. There's a lot of reasons why students withdraw, but we just want students to be mindful that you will end up with a W or withdrawal from on your college transcript if you do decide to withdraw from a course for any reason. So here we're talking about eligibility. So in order to do dual enrollment, you have to have an unweighted 3.0 GPA. There are no exceptions. If you have a 2.998, it has to be a 3.0 unweighted. So we have a unweighted and a weighted GPA. So the weighted GPA takes into account your AP, your dual enrollment and honors courses. Your unweighted does not. So make sure that it's your unweighted GPA, and you can look at your GPA through student portal, or your parents can look at it through parent portal, but it has to be an unweighted 3.0 to dual enroll. You also have to meet the testing requirement. So there's 3 different ways that you can meet the testing requirement. The PERT is offered at Polk State. It's a college readiness test. Essentially, they want to make sure that you have the requisite skills to be successful in the classes. So there's an English section, a reading section, and a math section on the PERT. The PERT is free. You can take the PERT online at this point because of COVID. You used to have to go to campus to take it, but now they're offering it online, or you can use ACT or SAT as concordant scores if you've already taken those assessments. So in order to start dual enrolling, you do have to have PERT scores, ACT or SAT scores. If you take the PERT and you pass the reading and English section, you can start taking English, history, humanities courses. In order to take math or science courses, you have to pass the math section. So you can start having not passed all sections of the PERT. However, once you've reached 12 credit hours, you do have to have passed all sections of the PERT, or they will not let you continue on. So it's something that you want to be working toward, making sure that you pass all 3 sections. Again, you'd also have to have passed all 3 sections to do full-time early admissions in your senior year. So if you're able to pass, say, the reading and English section, and you can get started in those classes, don't forget that you would have to have that math section finished, meaning having a passing score in order to move on after those 12 credit hours or to do full-time early admissions in your senior year. You also have to maintain a 2.0 in your college classes. If you do fail a college course, you do have to retake just that course, and you can't take any other courses until you have rectified that F that you earned in that one course. This goes into a little more detail about what I was talking about with seniors. So seniors can do what's called full-time early admissions. And again, this is reserved only for seniors. For our 10th and 11th graders, you have the ability to do part-time dual enrollment, which is 1, 2, or 3 classes. For full-time early admissions, again, it has to be a senior, and you would take all of your classes at Polk State, which would be 4 or 5 classes, which would be 12 or 15 credit hours. You have to have an unweighted 3.2 GPA, and you have to meet the minimum score in all 3 sections. And again, you can either use the PERT, the ACT, or the SAT to satisfy that requirement. And then you have to have successfully completed Algebra 2. And really that's because if you haven't completed Algebra 2, you really aren't ready for those college level math courses yet. So again, full-time early admissions is reserved for our seniors. It's very similar to what is offered at collegiate. A lot of parents ask me what's the difference between collegiate and dual enrollment. They are very, very similar. However, collegiate can offer this full-time study in 11th and 12th grade, whereas at George Jenkins, we offer it just in students' senior year. So that is the main difference between collegiate and George Jenkins dual enrollment, which I know I'll get a question about eventually. So full-time early admissions, again, as seniors can participate in activities. They can go to prom still, they would graduate with us. All of those things, they are still a George Jenkins student. However, they don't have to physically be on our campus, and they would graduate with us. So again, this just goes into a little more detail about testing. Again, you can use the PERT, the SAT, or the ACT. If you're using your SAT or ACT scores, you do have to send an official score report to Polk State, and you do that by logging into your ACT or SAT account, and then you send those scores over that way using your dashboard on either of those accounts. Your scores have to be less than 2 years old. So if you're in 10th grade and you take it, you could potentially have to take it again as a senior, or if you take it earlier in 9th grade to prepare earlier, you may have to take them again because they're only good for 2 years. The other thing with that is if you have SAT or ACT scores, you're looking at the certain section scores. So I'll go through with you, which should be a little bit further down. It's not the total scores, but it's the section score. So these are the scores that you need on the PERT as well as the ACT and SAT in order to be eligible for dual enrollment. So for the reading section, again, there's 3 sections. There's a reading, an English, and a math section. For the reading section on the PERT, you need a 106 or an SAT reading score of a 24. So again, that's that section score. So on the SAT, you might have a verbal score of say 430 or 550. However, there's a reading section score, and that is what they're looking at. So that would be an SAT score of a 24 in the reading section or an ACT reading score of a 19. English, it's again a 103 on the PERT, a 25 on the SAT, English section, or ACT English section 17. And same thing with math, a 114, a 24, or a 19. And again, these scores will go be on our website. I'm going to post this PowerPoint so you don't have to memorize those scores. One thing to note with the math is that if you earn a 114 on the math section of the PERT, that places you into intermediate algebra. Intermediate algebra does not count as a math for college purposes. It does for high school purposes. It does not for college purposes. It counts as an elective. But after completing intermediate algebra, you can advance then to college algebra. For students that score a 123 on the math section, they can go directly into college algebra, which is a higher level math. So these are the steps to dual enrollment, and I'm actually going to move to a different form. I'm just going to show you briefly so that you can see what I'll be handing out to you guys. Just bear with me for 1 second. I'm going to change over. So if you look here, this is the handout that I'll be sending out to you guys. And can you guys see this?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So this is the handout that you'll be receiving via email. So this is nice. It gives you it in a step-by-step format. So the PowerPoint is very nice. However, the step-by-step format seems to be very helpful. So you have to first meet eligibility requirements. Again, you have to have a 3.0 unweighted, and then you have to have passed the PERT, either certain sections of the PERT, again, reading in English to take those English, history, humanities courses, or math to take math or science courses. So you have to meet eligibility requirements first. The second thing that you have to do is you have to complete the application. So all students are, can someone mute their, wait, let's see, I can do it. All right, so then you have to actually complete the application. The Polk State application is basically signing up for dual enrollment. So as long as you're a college student and you've been approved by us to complete the application and you have the 3.0, it's not an admission decision where you have to decide whether or not they're going to admit you. You would be admitted as long as you meet those requirements. So after you've completed the application, and the application is found on the Polk State website, that's polk.edu, you would complete the application. It takes about 10 minutes to complete. You do want to make note of your Polk State ID number. It's very much like your student ID number at George Jenkins. You do have to have that ID number in order to do certain things. And if you're calling the campus, for instance, to ask a question, you would need your Polk State ID number. So for all different aspects of that, you do need to note your Polk State ID number. After that, step 3, you're going to submit your test scores. You can either take the PERT or you can submit your ACT or SAT scores. And how you do that is with, as far as the PERT goes, you're going to follow the steps that are here. You're going to email your request to test to deregistration@polk.edu. And in that email in the body, you'll include your full name, your ID number, this section of the PERT you're requesting to take. So students can have taken the test previously, and so they might only need to pass one section. So if you're taking it for the first time, obviously you'd need to take all sections, but if you're going back and you've passed English and reading and just need to take the math, then you would just note that. And then your high school. It typically takes 2 business days for them to get back to you, and then you're taking the PERT from your desktop or laptop computer. Don't suggest using a phone or a tablet or anything like that. I do suggest using a laptop or a computer, and then you would be able to take the PERT. The PERT is free. You never have to pay anything for dual enrollment, again, remember. And then with the PERT, you can take it every 30 days and you can only take it twice. So it used to be that you could take the PERT, if any parents have kids that previously did dual enrollment, it used to be that they could take the PERT as many times as they wanted to, as long as there was 30 days within the last time, before the last time they tested. It is now they can take it 2 times in 2 years, and they have to be 30 days apart. So you do want to be mindful and make sure that your student has prepared for it, because they're using one of their 2 opportunities. If they can't pass the PERT, again, they do have the ability to take the ACT or SAT as many times as they want to, but again, you do have to pay for ACT or SAT, so that's why. So you do want to be mindful of that. So after you've met the testing requirement, you would complete the online orientation. The online orientation can be found on the Polk State website at polk.edu. If you just type in new student orientation, students are required to complete the online orientation before they can register for classes. So these are the 3 most important steps for students that have never done dual enrollment before. Before you can do anything, you have to complete these 3 steps, which is applying, meeting the testing requirement in one of the 3 different ways, either PERT, ACT, or SAT, and then doing the new student orientation. Once you've done that, you would meet with your counselor to decide what classes you want to take. If you already know exactly what you want to take, then you can email with your counselor back and forth, but typically you'd want to meet with your counselor. And then there's going to be some other processes after that once you've met with your counselor. So those processes are completing Delta, which is our school way of knowing what courses you're taking. Delta you can find through your student portal. You would log into student portal. Delta is one of the icons that is on there. And then you would go through these steps here to request the term, request the classes, and we would do a little bit of back and forth. You would request a program, I would add that in there. Your parents would have to log in and approve your program, and then you would add classes to that as well. So again, that's the step-by-step is right there on that handout. So I'm not going to go into too much detail with that because it's a little bit of back and forth, but after doing it once or twice, it's not too bad. After you've done Delta, you do then have to register for classes. Registering for classes used to look differently. I think I have a question. Give me 1 second. Let's see. Someone asked if I could send it. I'm going to post it on our school website, and then I'm actually going to send it out just the way the invite was sent out to everyone. The invite was sent to everyone via the student email account. This handout will be sent to everyone's student account as well. So with registration, registration used to occur in person. So students would go to Polk State and they would register just like a campus student would. However, due to COVID, we are now registering students online through email. So students would figure out what classes they want to take, and then those students would email their counselor in this format that's on this sheet here with their name, their ID number, the courses they want to take, and then the sections that they want to take. Your counselor can help you figure out how you actually look for those sections. You go onto the Polk State website, they have a database of what classes are being offered and at what times, and that's how you would select those courses. Some of those courses are online, some of those courses are on the Polk State campus. You'd have to look for the times that you want that fit with your George Jenkins schedule. And so let's go into a little bit of detail about that. So a lot of people want to know, the first question is, well, how do I do it? How do I do it scheduling wise? So if students are wanting to do dual enrollment, typically they take their George Jenkins classes in the morning, because typically Polk State doesn't have super early morning classes because college students don't want to wake up early. So they come to George Jenkins, get here at 7, and they might do 4 or 5 periods at the George Jenkins campus, and then they decide that they want to do 2 dual enrollment classes. So if a student is taking 2 dual enrollment classes, they have the ability to have 1 free period or a travel period. So that will help them manage the 2 different caseloads at George Jenkins and through dual enrollment. And so then they would take 4 George Jenkins classes. So typically those students would take those courses 1, 2, 3, 4, period 1, 2, 3, 4, and they're able to leave a little bit early. Well, dual enrollment students have a pass that lets our administrators know that they're leaving early from our campus. And then they either go to Polk State in the afternoon to take their classes, or they go home and take them online. Now, what does that look like? Polk State offers classes, say, from 2:15 to 3:45, Monday and Wednesday. students can take those courses. If they're, for instance, having to be there for 4 periods at George Jenkins, there are evening classes from 5:30 to 8:30. That's not very popular. Not many students do that, but that's an option as well. The other option is online courses, but students have the ability to create their schedule with their dual enrollment classes. So they would decide when they take those courses. But again, obviously it has to fit in with their George Jenkins classes as well. So again, typically how it works is students are taking classes at George Jenkins in the morning, and they're able to take classes at Polk State in the evening if they want to do on-campus classes. A lot of online classes don't require face-to-face meetings, so students can log in whenever they want to for some of those courses, so then it becomes a little bit less important scheduling wise, but that is typically how the scheduling works with dual enrollment. Step 6 is that students then have to let us know what courses they're registered for by bringing us a copy of their schedule. And the last thing is they have to acquire textbooks. Textbooks, students, again, will get those for free. And how they do that is that they take a copy of their Polk State schedule to the Polk State bookstore, and those books are given to them for free. Once students have checked out those books, and they do have to return them at the end of the semester. And if you don't return them, then you cannot continue using Polk State books. But again, you never have to pay for anything. Everything is covered by the Polk County schools. All right, so I'm gonna switch back now. So these are the courses that we offer on our campus. Can everyone see my screen again?
Yep.
Okay. So these are the courses that are offered on at our George Jenkins campus. So we don't offer very many courses on our campus, but again, that's typically why students are taking the courses through Polk State, either on their campus or online. Next year, we're offering a business law class, a criminal law class, and those are both going through the Law Academy. And then we are also offering digital imaging fundamentals and web development, which is going through the Digital Design Academy. Typically, students taking those courses have gone through legal office tech 1 and 2, and then they take business law and criminal law or their dual enrollment classes in their 11th or 12th grade year. Same thing with the digital design ones. They're typically taking digital design 1 and 2, and then taking dual enrollment either in their junior or senior year. We also offer courses through Southeastern on our campus. So what we were covering so far was how you can dual enroll with Polk State. We offer certain courses through Southeastern. We do not offer students the opportunity to dual enroll with Southeastern on their campus. They're only eligible to take what courses are offered on our campus through Southeastern, which would be College English 1 and 2 or ENC 1101, intermediate and college algebra, and sometimes we have college success or career planning if we're able to. Those courses are offered on our campus through Southeastern. They do not have the same requirements as Polk State. With Southeastern, the students just have to have a 3.0 in order to go into those classes. So no PERT, no SAT or ACT requirement, but those are only offered on our campus. You cannot like go to Southeastern and take classes the same way that you can with Polk State. And this goes into a little more detail. So registration with SEU classes takes place on campus in the class with the teacher. They help the students get registered. And again, they only have to have a 3.0. They don't have to meet that testing requirement. Okay, so I had a question, is there a deadline for when you have to take the PERT, ACT, or ST in order to do dual enrollment? There is not a specific deadline. However, right now students are registering for the fall dual enrollment term. There's still some ability for students to do summer dual enrollment as well, but right now, Polk State is actually registering for the fall semester. So if you're thinking about doing dual enrollment for the fall semester, then you wanna get those first couple steps done, the application, the taking the PERT, the doing the new student orientation. The reason for that being is that Polk State will be registering all the way up until the first day of classes, which will be in early August. So you do have a couple months. However, classes are being filled up as we speak. And typically there's still openings up until the first day of classes. However, some of the more popular courses might become full, or the popular professors might become full. So there is no deadline like cut and dry of, June 3rd or anything like that, but you do want to take it pretty soon because you want to get registered now for the fall term. So typically registration happens a month or two before the actual term starts. So for instance, fall registration is going on right now. For spring term, that would happen in about like October, November-ish, and then those courses start in January. So you're always planning ahead for the following term. It's like I have another question. If I take College English 1 and 2 online, do I still enroll through Polk State or Southeastern? And then I have, are the listed courses for each college the only ones you can take on those? You can take with those colleges. So just a review, so these courses here are the only dual enrollment courses through Polk State that we offer on George Jenkins campus. Dual enrollment students are eligible to take any Polk State course through dual enrollment. These are the ones we offer on our campus. The other courses students are eligible to take at Polk State, either online or on their campus. Southeastern is different. Southeastern, we only have these courses, and the ones that are offered on our campus, those are the only Southeastern classes that you can take. So I know that can be a little bit confusing, but that's how that works. I think I had one more question. Maybe not. Okay. All right. So again, this just goes through those steps again. The most important things to get out of today is the preparation portion. So when you go to your counselor, they can help you with the Delta process, they can help you with registration, but you really want to come to them having applied, taken the PERT or met the testing requirement using SAT or ACT, and then you want to have done the new student orientation. You cannot register for classes without having done the new student orientation. So those are 3 key things to get out of today. If you get nothing else out of today, it is those 3 steps: apply, take the PERT or send your SAT or ACT scores, and then complete the new student orientation. Then your counselor can help you figuring out what classes you want to take, going through the Delta process, which is what you would do on the Polk in the student portal, which is your way of saying to Polk County Schools, these are the courses I want to take. Your counselor approves them, the administrator approves them as well, and then you're ready to register, which is then when you register with Polk State. But again, your counselor can help you through with that process. So the most important things, again, apply, take the PERT, and then complete the new student orientation. Okay, so someone says, I was planning on taking English online, but college algebra in the classroom. Do I have to enroll to both colleges? So very good question. So some students will be enrolled in both Polk State classes and Southeastern classes, yes. If you are taking intermediate and college algebra on our campus next year, you selected through your course request and you were placed in that course, you will take that through Southeastern. You will register with your teacher in class on the first couple days of school. You don't have to do anything for Southeastern right now. If you are then wanting to take a dual enrollment class through Polk State, you do have to go through the process that I was just referring to, which is applying, taking the PERT, and doing the new student orientation. You have to go through the Delta process and then registering with your counselor through email. You do have to do all that if you're wanting to do Polk State courses. So I will typically have students that are doing both Southeastern classes, which again, they're doing, for instance, intermediate and college algebra, and they're taking Intro to Humanities at Polk State. That is fine, that is doable. You would just have to go through the Polk State process of applying, taking the PERT, sending your, if not taking the PERT, sending your test scores, doing your new student orientation, Delta, and that whole process. Then with your college algebra, you would just attend that class on the first day and register with your teacher in class. So again, I know it can be a little bit confusing with the Southeastern versus Polk State, but that's how that works. I have more questions. Okay, so someone asked me about with regard to difficulty with the English language. If you're having any difficulties, I mean, I would take the PERT. The PERT is typically a good indicator of whether or not you have the requisite skills to be successful in those courses. So I would leave it to the PERT to determine whether or not that you have those skills. Are we allowed to use PSAT scores? No, unfortunately, you can't use PSAT scores. You can only use SAT, ACT, or PERT. Okay, so someone asked a good question. It said, if I pass English and writing with ACT, can I take math with PERT? Yes. So you can mix and match with those scores. So for instance, if you have a passing math score on the SAT and a passing English score on the ACT and a passing PERT score in the reading, you can mix and match all those different scores as long as you have met the required score for that section. So you can mix and match the different tests. Again, the difference of PERT is free. The PERT, you can take it 2 times. Again, please make note of that because it used to be different. 2 times, they have to be 30 days apart, but you can take the PERT twice. SAT and ACT, you can take it however many times that you want to. The SAT and ACT are typically offered on our campus on Saturdays. I think we have one more, there's a July ACT that students can still register for, but then those will pick up again in the fall in August, SAT and ACT. Another question, let's see. It says, do we take all sections of the PERT test at the same time, or can we choose when we take each part? You can choose to, I think the first time students do have to take all sections of the PERT. And then thereafter, they would only have to take the parts that they have not passed at that point. So yes, I think the first time out, you just take all sections of the PERT. And then moving forward, say you pass the reading section, then you only have to take the English and math, and you would follow up with those 2 sections. And again, if you can't pass them on the PERT, if you have a passing ACT score, SAT score, you can then use that. Okay, I have a couple more questions. Okay, so when is registration for fall 2021? So registration is happening right now. So we've already started registering. So students that have taken dual enrollment courses in the past are able to register right now. Students who have not taken dual enrollment course in the past can start registering in June. So it's coming up very quickly. So that is why I suggest students start doing those steps now, which is again, applying, taking the PERT, or using an SAT or ACT score, and then completing a new student orientation. Okay, if we do dual enrollment when we graduate, can all of our credits be transferred to out-of-state colleges and used so we don't have to take college courses again? Okay, so when it comes to transferring those credits, very good question. When it comes to transferring those credits, it's very easy to transfer those credits here in the state of Florida. They're the exact same course code. So for instance, if you want to take the freshman English requirement, it's called ENC 1101, freshman composition. That's the same English requirement at USF, UCF, FAU. It typically is the same for private colleges as well. I don't know about out-of-state schools. Typically, they have a very similar course that's their freshman English course, and typically they will take that, but I can't advise you when it comes to out-of-state university or colleges. Yes, most of the time it does work transferring those out, but you would have to check, and I would check with that campus prior to completing a whole bunch of dual enrollment courses to make sure that that does transfer. See. If I want to do spring, can I take Polk State and Southeastern? Yes, you can do Polk State and Southeastern. Can current freshmen apply? I would wait until your 10th grade year. That is when you're eligible for dual enrollment. So again, you can dual enroll for 3 years. So that would be 10th grade, 11th grade, and 12th grade. Okay, I probably would hold off on taking the PERT because again, the PERT is only good for 2 years. So if you take it as a freshman and you can't dual enroll until your 10th grade year, you're wasting almost a year with that PERT score. And then you would have to retake the PERT in the middle of you doing dual enrollment. all Florida schools offer this program or only Polk State. Most high schools do have a partner that they do dual enrollment with. I'm not sure that every school has that, but we do partner with Polk State and then Southeastern for certain courses. What happens if I move schools? What happens to my dual enrollment? Would it transfer if you're in Polk County and you are transferring and say, for instance, you're in Polk County, you're at George Jenkins and you decide to move to Kathleen High School, you would say register in that course because you're still a Polk County student. If you were to move out of county, that partner would probably become different. If you're in Hillsborough County, that dual enrollment partner would likely be Hillsborough Community College. So if you stayed in Polk County, you would just stay in that course. If you move out of county, then you'd have to figure that out with the new school that you're at. I'm going to finish up the presentation because I don't have very much left, and I'll take any questions that anyone has, and I'll show you one more document that might be helpful to you. So just be mindful, this is saying here, be mindful that any course that a student takes through dual enrollment, it becomes a permanent part of their college transcript and a permanent part of their post-secondary or their college GPA. So you want to be mindful of that. So you need to make sure that you're responsible in your George Jenkins classes before you're ready to go off to Polk State. The reason for that being is the last thing you want to do is take a dual enrollment course and fail that course. Now on your college transcript, you have an F, and then you're trying to dig yourself out of a hole by either retaking that course or just stopping dual enrollment. And now when you get out of high school, you have to figure that out and rectify that situation. So you need to make sure that you're mature enough to take that course. And so if you're struggling with your George Jenkins courses or struggling with organization and getting assignments in on time in your George Jenkins courses, then you want to just be mindful that the stakes are much higher with a college course, because again, that does become a permanent part of your college transcript. Some resources are listed here, which is basically the Polk State website, our website, as well as George Jenkins website. So I'm going to get out of this. I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to answer any questions that anyone has. If you want to use the chat box, we can use the chat box to ask any questions. You can also just chime in if you want to as well, if you have any questions. So again, the most important things to get out of this meeting is that dual enrollment, students can earn college credits and they can accelerate. As they're doing that, they are also satisfying their high school requirements. So it's great because they're able to kill two birds with one stone. They're satisfying those high school requirements while they're also earning college credit at the same time. One question that I typically get, and I'm surprised I haven't gotten it yet, is that what is the difference between AP and dual enrollment? Okay, so let's go through that really quickly because that typically is one that students want to know. So if you've taken an AP course or on your course request that you just got back the other day, it mentions an AP course. What is the difference between AP and dual enrollment? AP or advanced placement is taking a course, and when you complete that course, you take a standardized exam at the end. It's a national exam. And if you earn a passing score on that exam, then you earn college credit for that course. So for instance, if you take AP World History in 10th grade, you go through the course the entire year. There is certain material that you cover, and then you take an AP exam in May. If you earn a 3, 4, or 5 on that exam, typically colleges will award you college credit. It is their policy. So some colleges only award if you earn a 4 or 5. Most, probably 90%, will give you college credit if you earn a 3, 4, or 5. So that is how you earn college credits with AP. The advantages to AP are the fact that our more competitive universities like University of Florida, Florida State, any of our Ivy League schools, things like that, they view AP courses more favorably than dual enrollment. The reason for that being is that AP courses, there's a standardized curriculum, and then there's this national exam at the end. That the national exam or the standardized exam that you take at the end, they know that if you earn a passing score on that, you really know that content because that exam is pretty challenging. And again, it's a normed exam. They know that it is, they know that it's a good exam, okay? So they view that a little bit more favorably. That's the advantage to AP. The disadvantage to AP is that if you don't pass the AP exam, then you don't earn college credit for it. So you would still earn that weight in your GPA. It's still great on your transcript for when you're applying to college and all that. They will still look at that favorably when you're applying to college. They do not know whether or not you've passed that AP exam or not when you're applying to college. Typically, they don't even ask you if you've passed that AP exam, but you will not get college credit for it. The advantage to dual enrollment is that if you earn a passing grade in that course, you're automatically granted the college credit. So you know that you have that from jump as long as you do well in it. The disadvantage is, again, that colleges don't view it as favorably as AP. Now, typically what I tell students is, some students, if they want to go to a more competitive four-year university, mix and match. So take some AP classes and take some dual enrollment. The reason for that being is that you're satisfying what those really competitive universities want. If that's what you're thinking, that's about your thinking. And you've taken that AP line class, that AP world class, but then you've also taken some dual enrollment as well. So you have some college credits banked if you can't pass that AP exam. So that is typically what I suggest to students. Some students know right away that they want to do the AA and do 2 years at Polk State and then 2 years at a university. And then for that, you can go right into dual enrollment because you're going to end up going to Polk State anyway. And that's a good route for those students. So that's a little bit of the difference in AP and dual enrollment. I have a bunch of questions now. I'm assuming it's in relation to this, what I was just talking about. So let me get to those. Okay. Okay, someone asked, they're a freshman. If you're a freshman, you would have to wait to do that law dual enrollment course. You'd have to get through legal aspects 1 and 2 before doing that dual enrollment law course. And again, you're not gonna, most students will not dual enroll their 9th grade year because you only have 3 years to dual enroll. So again, it would be preferable to do it in 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. That typically just makes the most sense. Will my counselor be available for a face-to-face meeting after school ends on the 3rd? Yes, counselors are there for another week. So that's when we suggest that if you want a face-to-face meeting, that you email your counselor, make an appointment. And we are there until, I believe let me look at my calendar. We are there until from the 7th to the 11th. So you guys get out on the 3rd. We're also there on the 4th, which is a Friday. And then we're there from the 7th to the 11th. So we're there for a full week after students get out as well. If you're moving out of the country, what will happen to my credits? I can't really advise you on that. Some out of country universities will take them as well. Like we might have students that come to Polk State, for instance, from Spain or somewhere else, and then they would have to evaluate the transcript. That college would evaluate your transcript and see what they would take, but I can't really advise out of country, I'm sorry. And it says country, I don't know if it means out of county, but it would be the same thing as well. Okay, just making sure I understand. I'll be taking intermediate and college algebra. If I dual enroll for those classes, would it be Polk State or Southeastern, or is there a choice? Okay, there is a choice. So if you're taking it on our campus, then the only choice that you have is through Southeastern. If you want to take intermediate and college algebra on the Polk State campus because you want to have that college experience, you can go to Polk State and take it through Polk State. On our physical campus, George Jenkins, that is only being offered through Southeastern. So it's your choice with any class that you take. We offer certain courses through Southeastern, which is the intermediate and college algebra, the ENC 1101 and 02, but you can also take those courses through Polk State. You always have that option. You can take virtually any course that you want through Polk State, but you would have to either take it on their campus or you'd have to take it online because we just don't offer all their classes on our campus, obviously. It says, so we'll be attending our courses on Polk State campus, and which is better, Polk State or Southeastern? Both are great resources, Polk State and Southeastern. If you register for Polk State classes, you would decide whether you want to take it online or you want to take it on the Polk State campus. If you have transportation and you would like to do face-to-face learning, there are options on the Lakeland campus. You can take face-to-face classes. It does have to fit in with your George Jenkins schedule. Again, you would take George Jenkins in the morning till about, first, second, third, fourth, fifth period, and then you would go over to Polk State in the early afternoon and take classes on their campus. Most college classes are 2 days a week, so it might be like Tuesday, Thursday from say 2:30 to 3:45. And then you would attend that class on those 2 days at that time. You also get a travel period that helps you get over to Polk State, or if you're taking it online, it just helps you balance those classes as well. So for instance, you always have to have a full schedule. A full schedule for George Jenkins is 7 periods. So if you're taking 4 George Jenkins classes, you could take 1 travel period, that'd be 5, and then you could take 2 Polk State classes. Some students will choose to take all 7 classes at Polk State because they really want those classes. They want to be in vet, they want to be this, and they also will take classes outside of their schedule through Polk State, and that's fine as well. But you don't have to do it that way. You can lower the number of courses that you take on George Jenkins campus to accommodate those dual enrollment classes. If you do full-time early admissions or dual enrollment through George Jenkins, yes, you do graduate with your class, with your freshman, with your friends. I guess it says your freshman class, yes. As long as you do dual enrollment through Polk State with George Jenkins, either part-time or full-time early admissions, you're still a George Jenkins student. You still have access to clubs, teams, all that kind of stuff, and you still graduate with us, even if you do that full-time option in your senior year, yes. One last thing, and we're going to have to wrap it up in a little bit. If anyone has any questions and I'm your counselor, feel free to email me. Or if you're not my student, you can always email your counselor. But one document that I will provide for all of you as well is, let's see. Is that this here? And it's a little bit smaller, so you can't see it that well. But again, I'll send this out to everyone. This is a list of courses that you need for general AA. So Polk State, most of Polk State's programs are associate programs, so you would earn a 2-year degree for them. An associate's of art in general education is a very general degree, and typically students use that degree. They do 2 years, and then they go on to a university, and then they do another 2 years, and they get what's their 4-year degree, which is your bachelor's degree. So this document here tells you what you need for a general AA. This is helpful because if you're thinking about doing that 2+2, or even if you're thinking about just going to a university, it helps you understand like what courses are offered and what courses are required. So for instance, here it says communication, 6 credits are required. So for to earn a general AA at Polk State, you have to have taken ENC 1101 and ENC 1102. That's an English or communications requirement. So you'd have to take that. So you might want to take this the first semester in the fall, and then ENC 1102 in the spring, for example. Then you need 6 credits of math. One course must be from list A, and then the other can be from list A or list B. So college algebra is on there, topics of math, all that kind of stuff. So you can use this document to help you satisfy that AA if that's what you're going for. Some students just want to have different electives, so they'll just take whatever they want to through Polk State. But you can use this as a guide if you're really working toward earning that AA. And most students will not finish an AA before they graduate from high school, but some students have earned 24, 30 credits, so they're halfway through an AA by the time they graduate. So again, it helps them accelerate and not spend as much time at Polk State or at the university level.
I have a question.
Yes, absolutely.
I was looking at like what Polk State offers as classes.
Yeah.
Briefly, and I didn't see anything that like falls in line of what I want to do when I'm as my career. But Southeastern University, right? They have the college algebra and stuff like that, which is stuff that I'm going to need to do. And it also allows me to stay on campus. Is there any point to me going and dual enrolling to Polk State if they don't offer anything that I really need or want? Meanwhile, I could just stay at campus and do dual enrollment at Southeastern.
Yes, yes and no. So the reason why yes is that typically for your degree, if you want to, for instance, study business, right? Typically you do have to have prerequisite courses. It's not just that you go directly into business courses. So typically if you went to USF and you want to study business, typically you'll need ENC 1101. You will need Intro to Humanities. You will need a health and wellness course. You will need college algebra. So you can get some of those things out of the way now as a dual enrollment student, so that when you do graduate from high school and you decide to apply to and enroll with USF, this way you've already gotten some of these more like prerequisite classes out of the way, and you can kind of move more toward those upper level courses that have more to do with your major. So it does make sense to get some of these prerequisite classes done now, because they may not have anything to do with your major, but a lot of colleges require certain prerequisite courses for every major.
So I should look at like the colleges that I want to go to and their
yes. Most
and what
colleges,
classes that I need for my major. And then if I can take those at Polk State, I should take them.
yes, because you can knock those out of the way now. So for instance, if you go on USF's website or UF's website and you decide you want to study business, they tell you exactly what you need for a bachelor's degree in business. So get rid of that ENC 1101 and 02 now, so you don't have to take it at the college level. I'm going to answer some last questions. I am going to time out at 6:30. So if you have more questions from there, just email your counselor. You can email me directly as well. So someone asked, so Polk State has, you can take any course that they offer at Polk State pretty much. With Southeastern, I'm not sure of the extent of what they offer, but you can only take the courses that we offer in our campus, which is intermediate and college algebra and ENC 1101. So if I take college algebra, I get a credit for math after algebra 2. Yes, if you take college algebra, you're satisfying a high school math credit and you're earning college credit, 3 college credits for that course. So yes, you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone, satisfying a math requirement for high school and you're earning 3 college credits as well. Again, if I time out, all this stuff will be available on our website. And I will also provide, this is my email address here, if you have any specific questions about the presentation, or you can email your individual counselor as well. Let's see. If you haven't taken the PERT yet, there's still time to take the PERT. You can register for dual enrollment classes all the way up until August. So you really have a lot of time. You have the end of, so you have June and July and some of August as well that you can take the PERT and you can still prepare to take classes in the fall if that's what you want to do. Again, you have to apply to Polk State, take the PERT, do your new student orientation and get with your counselor to do Delta and register you for your classes. There is still plenty of time. You can register all the way up until the first day of classes, which I believe Polk State, I think we start school on the 10th and I think they're starting on like the 16th of August. So you still have a couple months to prepare for dual enrollment if you want to do so in the fall. And again, if you're in 9th grade, this doesn't apply to you. You get some information today, but really this is for 10th and 11th and 12th because you don't want to waste one of your years of dual enrollment in 9th grade. You want to do it in 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. Anybody else have last minute questions?
I have a question.
Yes, absolutely.
So you said since we're freshmen, like to not worry about it right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do we wait till like sophomore summer, like when we're sophomores going to junior year?
You would wait until next year around this time. So,
okay.
So you would, if you're in 9th grade now, next year you're moving into 10th grade, you can dual enroll then. If you're going into 9th grade. So if you're going into 10th grade next year, then you can start preparing now because next year you're preparing for next fall. So if you're going to be a 10th grader in the fall, that's what I'm referring to. 10th, 11th, and 12th grader as of the fall, which is in August. So if you're moving into 10th grade in the fall, you would still do this process and you would get ready for your 10th grade year, which is next year. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, absolutely. Anybody else have any questions for me?
I have a question.
Absolutely.
So if I'm gonna take it in this, if I'm gonna take it in the spring, so I have to start applying in November?
Yes. So if you're going to take it in the spring, which again, the spring term will start after you come back from your Christmas break. Polk State is a little bit of longer Christmas break than us. So you would come back in about mid-January is when the spring semester starts. However, everything is happening in advance. So you would start applying, I believe Delta opens on November 2nd. So in November, the month of November, you have to have done the application, the PERT, the orientation, you're meeting with your counselor to figure out what classes you're taking. And then when that registration opens up at Polk State, you're ready to go and you can register for classes then, which is again, November timeframe. So yes, everything's done about a month or 2 in advance because they need to know how to staff their courses at Polk State and all that information. So everything is typically a month or 2 in advance. So if you're thinking about spring, you can start preparing now. You can do the application. You can start studying for the PERT. You have a little bit longer, obviously, to study. You can take the SAT or ACT come the fall when it's offered in August. You have a little bit more time. If you want to do enroll for the fall, you're going to really want to get on it because you have another like 2 or 3 months to register for classes. So for the fall term, when is the deadline for enrolling and taking the PERT? There is no deadline, but I would start working on it now, because as I mentioned before, registration is going to occur in the months of June and July, August as well, until the first day that that class meets. So you want to start preparing now, completing the application, getting ready to take the PERT by studying for it. There is a math study guide for the PERT. It's on the Polk State website. I'm not sure why, but they don't have a study guide for the English or the reading. But you want to make sure that you're preparing, taking the PERT, and this way when registration opens up in June for new dual enrollment students, that you're ready to go. Dual enrollment students that have already dual enrolled and taking courses, you can register now. If you've never done dual enrollment, it opens up in June.
I have a question.
Yes.
Okay, so my daughter, she starts 10th grade in August. Okay,
Yes.
so will it be okay for her to go ahead and start studying for the PERT right now, or?
Yes. Yep. Because she can dual enroll next year. She would want to use her 3 years, which would be 10th, 11th, and 12th. So yes, she can start now.
Okay.
Preparing everything, because when she registers in June or July, that's going to be for August for her 10th grade year.
Okay.
So yes, she can start preparing now.
Okay.
I don't know, we have some students on here that are, we opened this up to 8th grade as well. And so they're going into 9th grade. So there are some students on here that are going into 9th grade. So that's what I'm referring to, what your grade is going to be come August. So if you're going to be a 10th grader come August, you can do dual enrollment. If you're going to be a 9th grader come August, you need to wait an additional year. And then this is just for informational purposes.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
So when it gets to the time, and it's a little bit difficult because like it's always hard when you're like talking about the next school year, right? So like we're not talking about this school year, we're talking about 21, 22. So it's always a little bit more challenging, but that's what we're talking about, what your student will be or what you will be come August. So when it gets to the time of choosing classes again, we'll pick dual enrollment again as a freshman. I'm a little confused by that question. So when it gets to the time of choosing class again, we'll pick, oh, you mean probably you're talking about the course request. So with the course request, we always have to have 7 George Jenkins classes for students in the course request. But what'll happen is everyone got their course request. They're all George Jenkins students. Once the students get registered for dual enrollment, you let your counselor know, you provide them a copy of your schedule, and then we can back out some George Jenkins classes to accommodate those dual enrollment. Again, if you only want to take 4 George Jenkins classes, you want to be able to leave early to do your dual enrollment, we'll back out the classes that you no longer want to take at George Jenkins. And so this way, again, you come in the morning to George Jenkins, and then you'll be able to leave earlier. I'll have students that leave 12:30 from George Jenkins, whatever 4th and 5th period ends. I can't remember the times. I'm not good with that. I think it's like around noon. Some students will leave after that. So they either leave and go directly to their dual enrollment class. Their dual enrollment class may not start until 2:30. They might go home and work on the class online, but they don't have to be at George Jenkins the entire day because they're taking George Jenkins classes and they're taking dual enrollment enough to fill up those 7 slots or 7 periods.
Will this affect my academic, like my academy? Like I chose medical academy, will it affect that?
Well, if you can decide whether or not you want to stay in that academy. So I'll have some students that started out and they want to be in an academy and then they decide they want to do dual enrollment and they no longer in the academy, or they stay in the academy and that's one of the courses that they take at George Jenkins. So they might take 4 classes on the George Jenkins campus or 5 classes, and that medical course is one of them. You do have to be mindful if you are in an academy transfer, you do have to stay in that academy course for in order to remain at George Jenkins. The only time that there's an exception for that is that we do let academy transfers do full-time early admissions. So in their senior year, if you're at George Jenkins with medical academy transfer, that senior year, you are still eligible to do full-time early admissions, which means that you wouldn't have to take that medical course only in your senior year.
What if like you are, like if you want to complete all 4 years, can you still take it in your senior year?
Yes, if you do part-time dual enrollment. Part-time dual enrollment is 1, 2, or 3 classes. If you do full-time early admissions, you can't take any classes at George Jenkins. However, be mindful that medical and most of our academies, After 3 years, you're a completer. So you're a completer after 3 years, you get the core that you need for graduation, and you're considered an academy completer. Some students want to remain for that 4th year, and so they don't want to do full-time early admissions, then that student will do part-time dual enrollment, which is again where they take 1, 2, or 3 classes through Polk State, and then they have to have George Jenkins classes as well. So it's all or nothing. Either you're part-time, which means that you can take up to 3 classes at Polk State, or your full-time early admissions. You can't like just do 1 George Jenkins class and be full-time early admissions. It says, so we have to have 7 classes, not just GJ classes. Dual enrollment count in the 7. Yes. So again, say I have a student that's taking dual enrollment courses. You have to have a full schedule at George Jenkins, which is 7 classes. But for instance, that student might have 7 classes. They might have 4 George Jenkins classes, 1 travel period, and then they might have 2 dual enrollment classes. They can have 3 dual enrollment classes if they want. That's 8 slots. But you do have to have 7 periods. And within those 7 periods, the dual enrollment classes do count. We build those into the George Jenkins schedule once a student is registered. So their schedule might look like AP English Language, AP World History, AP pre-calculus, physics honors, and then it might look like Introduction to Humanities, which is dual enrollment, general psychology, which is dual enrollment, and a travel period. So again, that's 4 George Jenkins classes, 2 dual enrollment, and then 1 travel period, which would equal 7. Now, I do have some students that want to take all their George Jenkins classes and take 7 George Jenkins classes and then take 2 dual enrollment. You have that option as well, but you do have to have 7 periods. So if you take 1 dual enrollment class, then you get 1 travel period, and you'd have to take 5 George Jenkins classes. And you always have to have 7 periods. So it says, are you able to take more than 3 dual enrollment classes as a senior while not being fully enrolled? No, it's either part-time or full-time. Part-time dual enrollment your senior year looks like 1, 2, or 3 classes, your choice. Full-time early admissions is that you're taking 4 or 5 classes, 12 to 15 credit hours, and you have to take all your classes at Polk State. You can't take any George Jenkins classes if you are a senior and doing full-time early admissions. Can you take dual enrollment over the summer? Yes. Summer dual enrollment is going on right now. If you want to register, you'd have to really get on it and get those steps done so that you could do summer dual enrollment. There are different terms in the summer, like the second one I think starts like June 10th, and there might be one that starts in July. So you really have to get on it if you're wanting to do dual enrollment this summer. If you're not referring to this summer, you can dual enroll any summer, but once you're a senior, you can't obviously then dual enroll after you've graduated. I always have students that want to come back but at that point, obviously, once you've graduated, the district will not pay for those courses any further, but you can dual enroll during the summer. The district usually approves 2 courses. Sometimes they'll approve 3, but remember those courses are accelerated during the summer. So you want to be mindful of how many you're taking during the summer months. All right, so we're gonna get ready to wrap everything up. Again, we have like great resources on our George Jenkins website that you can refer to. You can also use your counselor, which is a great resource. Again, if you get nothing else out of this, dual enrollment, you can kill those 2 birds with 1 stone. You can satisfy those high school requirements while earning college credit. Really, to get started, you want to apply. You're going to take that PERT or get those SAT or ACT scores sent to Polk State, and you want to complete that new student orientation. From there, we can really help you with the rest of that process, but we can't do anything with you until you've completed those 3 steps. That handout, Ms. Emmerling will be sending it to all students in their student email account. So look for that and use that handout as a guide. It really does go through it step by step. So that is really handy to have. And then again, just use your counselor as a resource. I appreciate everyone coming this evening. I'm a huge proponent of dual enrollment. It's a great opportunity for our students to earn college credit and to really accelerate if it's something that would be beneficial to the student. So, have a great evening. I will show you really quickly before I get off how to get to the George Jenkins website and how to get to like this PowerPoint and everything. So if you, and hopefully you all have been to our George Jenkins website. If not, there's a wealth of information. This is our George Jenkins website here. When you go under student services, which we are no longer considered the guidance department or guidance counselors, it's student services or school counselors. So if you look under student services and then you go down here to dual enrollment, this PowerPoint is there, and we'll be putting up that handout and some other resources as well. So our website has a wealth of resources on there, not just pertaining to dual enrollment, but just resources just in general. So that is where you'll find that, and we'll also be emailing you guys information as well. I appreciate your time tonight, and I hope that to see a lot of you dual enrolling soon and earning some college credits. And if I can be of any assistance to any of my students or anyone else as well, please feel free to reach out to me, and have a great evening, everyone.